Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the zoo. The minion with me this evening is Adam.
Hello.
And, of course, I'm the keeper for this evening, as it is a Friday. Sanguine, how are you doing tonight, Adam?
I'm doing all right. It's fucking the weekend.
Yep.
Thank God.
It's the weekend. There's been a lot of interesting court precedent now laid out.
Whoa. I mean, whoa, not Roe v. Wade, but like whoa.
Yep. Of course, everyone's heard about the Roe v. Wade decision finally popping out. And then there's also the Second Amendment issue, which was fantastic to hear how that got sorted. With it.
Yes, yesterday.
Yep. And there's something that I know no Supreme Court would ever do, but part of me just wishes one of them would at some point, which is when there's a law like the one that was brought before them, and they're trying to see whether or not it's constitutional, that they just send back a no, please see attached document, and it's the Second Amendment with shall not be infringed underlined like 4 times, and an arrow pointing to that phrase.
Yeah.
Good God. It's absolutely ridiculous, the shit that law had in it. Because you saw what the original law that they were having to see whether it was constitutionally okay or not, right?
Well, yeah, that was the central theme of the argument, right?
Yeah, the law itself said that in order to qualify for a handgun license or any sort of firearm license, to own a gun at all, not even just carry a gun outside of the house, but to have one in your house, you had to demonstrate a need for self-defense that exceeds the average need of a citizen. Which, the fuck? First off, how the hell do you show that? Second off, what the fuck?
Yeah, what? That makes a weirdo sense.
Yeah, in order to get a license under the law that they just struck down, thankfully, it said that you needed to be able to demonstrate that you had a need that exceeded the need of the average citizen for self-defense in order to own a gun at all. Not just in order to carry a gun outside of your house, but to own a gun in the first place. And for some reason, the area didn't think that that was an infringement of the Second Amendment.
Wasn't there some areas where you had to contact your sheriff, your local sheriff, to be able to verify that you're able to conceal and carry?
Oh, there's a bunch of areas that have various concealed carry laws. A lot of areas, thankfully, have been going over to constitutional carry, which is really fucking nice to hear. Yeah. But there are a lot of areas where, like, you have to go through this check or that check, or you have to take this sort of test or that, and it's all kinds of bullshit in order to get a concealed carry license in a bunch of states. But a increasing number going over to constitutional carry, where if you have a gun, you're able to carry it. You're able to carry it open. You're able to carry it closed, or concealed rather, and it's fun.
Yeah, honestly, that's the way it should be, right?
Yeah, it should be that way. And the number of people going, well, you have to have a license in order to drive a car. Please show me where it says that you have a right to automobile.
Dude, don't even get me started, because that's the thing that's been popping up a lot with both decisions on
Yep.
it's you're finding a lot of people who have very little understanding of what the fuck is going on, and
Mm-hmm.
they're just spouting their opinions as if it has any value. It's
Mm-hmm.
weird. They go out there and they'll sit there and, oh shit, you know, uh, shouldn't have this and you shouldn't have that, and it's like, but where in where in the Constitution does it say that? Oh well, you can have amendments. Okay, well, what amendment?
Have you gone through the amendment process? Have you
It's just
actually had the 3/4 of the states vote in favor of something? Oh, you haven't? So what you're saying is it isn't an amendment.
no, and that's the thing. It's like they don't really. I think a lot of them are just reacting based on their emotions, and
Mm-hmm.
they're just letting it fly through that.
Yeah. And
Sometimes it's not wrong, but you got to be able to
I would
focus.
say that having passion, having an emotional reaction is not a problem. The problem is having that unbound by reason.
Yes.
It's like, so you're into Roman history and ancient history. Have you read any of the Roman philosophers when it comes to Stoicism?
Uh,
Like
Bits and
Marcus
parts.
Aurelius' Meditations or Letters from a Stoic, Seneca?
Yes. Parts. Let's just say, um, I retain the checkerboard formation in
Okay.
terms of knowledge of
The
that.
Coincus. But yeah, the whole thing when you're reading through those is, yeah, there's different things that will knock you off kilter from time to time, or at least will attempt to knock you off kilter from time to time. You get to decide whether or not it does. You get to decide how you react. You get to decide whether you're going to give in to your baser instincts. And when you make those decisions, you don't get to say, well, you don't understand. This made me do that, or this caused me to do that. No. If you decide to let something affect you to that degree, that was your decision. It wasn't your decision for whatever caused that reaction to happen, but it was your decision to allow it to have that effect on you, because outside scenarios do not dictate your actions. And if you really hone it, then you can reach a point where you can decide how strongly you're going to feel things based on what happens from the outside. You can be happy even if your situation is fairly shit, if you have the right mentality about things. So it is very much a, you are your rational mind. Your emotions, they'll happen, but you get to decide how strongly you'll feel them, how strongly you'll act them out. Don't allow your emotions to control you. That makes you a beast. Seneca even refers to the logical mind as the element of divinity within man. So it's something that they stress a hell of a lot, that you need to actually control yourself, have mastery over yourself. And yet they keep on just flying off the fucking handle. And this is something that you see time and time again when it comes to arguments. You see this when it comes to the Roe v. Wade shit where people don't actually look at what the situation is. They don't look at why the ruling was made such as it was. They just go, well, I don't like it and therefore it's bad and I need to be emotional. No, you don't need to be emotional.
Well, not even that. Just not even reading the opinions of the justices, and
Yep.
it's you're not paying full attention. You're just allowing the first instinct to come across and just running with it, and
Yep.
it it's if you want to formulate a good strategy on the outside of it, you'd want to be able to understand what in the fuck your opponent's doing. But
Mm-hmm.
these people seem to. I mean, okay, so I'm looking at it like from their end, th- they're just taking what's given to them and giving a flashpoint type of reaction to it. And
It's absolutely knee jerk.
yeah, it's not doing anything of benefit.
Yeah. And it's so many times you'll listen to someone make their argument and then try to summarize their opponent's argument, and it becomes ridiculously clear this person has no clue what their opponents are actually saying. They don't even understand the basics. So, of course, when they try to expand it out, it is completely fucked because, in order to be able to understand the entirety of what your opponent is saying, you have to, at the very least, understand the basics of what they're saying. And you need to be able to take what they're saying, reword it in a way that they would agree is an accurate rewording.
Yeah.
And that's something that you don't see happen much at all now. People just have their reaction, and if you have an opinion or a reaction that's different than their reaction, well, you're fucking evil.
It became so hyperbolic. And it's
Mm-hmm.
weird too. Why would it become so hyperbolic?
In many respects, people made some ideology or some almost meaningless facet of their not personality, but of their life, their entire personality. So when you disagree with an idea, you disagree with their very existence. And you see this constantly with the phrasing of, you're denying people's existence. No, people aren't denying other people's existence. They don't believe what they're saying. There's a
Well,
difference.
but that's that's what I mean. Like they they edge it towards the hyperbolic where it's you don't you don't believe in our existence. It's like holy shit. No, it's just we don't agree with each other.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean
And
you don't exist. Relax.
yeah,
you know?
and there's two ways that I've heard people phrase it in order to try to explain this idea that disagreeing is not a saying that that person doesn't exist or saying that that person doesn't think what they're saying they think. Then the two examples that I've heard are, think about a Scientologist.
Uh,
A Scientologist
Tonkers.
who knows for fact that they are a housing for these long dead alien beings that are trying to ascend. Just because you're going, that isn't true, isn't saying that you're saying, well, the Scientologist doesn't believe this. I doubt the existence of Scientology or this Scientology. No, you're just saying that's not right. He isn't or she isn't a housing for long dead alien beings. That's just not true. And another one that I've heard people use is imagine the psych patient who says that they are Napoleon. Saying that they aren't Napoleon isn't denying that they believe that they're Napoleon. It's saying that it just isn't factual. They are not a Corsican midget. Unless you're a Corsican midget.
Yeah. Hold on, is that that's going to be in the sequel to Princess Bride? Never mess with a
Corsican midget.
Wait, what the fuck? Oh,
never wage war against a Corsican midget.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it's one of those things that people can acknowledge that in those situations you can disagree with someone. In the case of a Christian that truly believes in the religion, someone who doesn't believe in the religion is able to go, yeah, I don't believe that. It's not right. And people don't go, oh, so you deny Christians exist. No, I just think that they're wrong. There's a difference. But there's so many things that now, if you try to say that someone's wrong, well, you're denying their existence.
Yeah, I don't like that part.
Yeah, if you don't believe all women, then you're denying that rape victims exist. No, I'm not. I'm saying that women, just like everyone else, can fucking lie. And what I do when I hear a claim from anyone is I go, is this claim accurate? And I look into it. And sometimes I go, yes, this claim is accurate. Sometimes I go, no, this claim is entirely fictitious. And other times I go, well, there's a little bit of truth to it. Not much, but there's a little bit. And each of those has a different response. It's just infuriating, the number of things that are now, well, this is part of my identity. People make their political beliefs their identity. People make what bits they have, what bits they want, or what bits they want to have fun with parts of their identity. And I'm sorry, I don't give a shit whether you have a pole, a hole, whether you want a pole or a hole, or whether you want to fuck a pole or a hole, unless I'm trying to fuck you. Otherwise, I don't give a shit. That does not impact my interactions with you, because my interactions with you will be more, what do you think? What do you enjoy to do? Do you like some of the same things that I like? And if you don't, it doesn't mean that you're fucking evil. It just means that, oh, you enjoy different things. And it's just infuriating that this keeps on happening. It keeps on happening in so many goddamn different topics and different arenas of thought and just fucking existence. If you don't agree to everything that I believe, then you must hate me. No, that is not the case. The vast majority of the time, I just think you're wrong. The truth be told, the fastest way to get me to actually fucking hate you is probably telling me that if I disagree with you, I must hate you.
I mean,
you've had a little bit of tirade. Do you have something that you want to ramble about, Adam, or? I just went running off with that topic.
No, yeah. I don't know if I have anything to to equal to that.
Shall we go for and now for something entirely different and a bit of a palate cleanser,
Well,
and see if there's another topic that comes up after the palate cleanser?
by all means, go ahead.
So, do you want to hear what I'm having for dinner tonight?
What's that?
Tonight I'm going to be having a nice bit of salmon that I'm going to be throwing into a hot pan here in a moment. But first, I'm finishing up making a bit of mushroom stock that I'm then going to pour a bit of over some rice, some mushroom, throw in a pat of butter, a little bit of salt, probably some mushroom ketchup, and put
New.
that into my rice cooker. So I get some amazing kind of Western flavor mushroom rice. Because there's Eastern mushroom rice, which is fucking fantastic, but you can also do it as a Western mushroom rice, which is what I'm doing tonight. And it should be really fucking good. Then, like I said, the salmon, and I think I'm going to go with a cider with this meal. So I'm thinking of going for a sociable cider road rash, raspberry lemon cider.
Nice.
Yep, should
Looks
be a
like a nice side.
fantastic meal once all said and done. Oh, and I'll probably mince up some fresh parsley and fold that through the rice as well. Bay leaf, there we go. That's what I was looking for. So, what have you been up to today, Adam? Anything fun? Anything interesting? Anything
Um,
willing and game to share?
I mean, well, it was it's Friday, so it's the end of the work week. Um, just finishing up the tasks for the load. But other than that, I think I almost finished Turtles um today, and it was pretty cool. Um,
Nice.
yeah.
So,
Um,
which turtles is it again that you've been playing through?
oh
Because
yeah,
I
this
know it's not the old school NES one. At least it wasn't the last time that I saw you play.
no no, it's this recent release of Turtles Shredder's Revenge, and
Ah,
uh, it's a pretty good game. Um, it's a nice side scrolling beat 'em up, and I'm all for it. I would like to see more of those type of games going out, and they did a good job on this in all aspects of it, in terms of
mm-hmm.
animation and gameplay, and um, even like the last part that I played. I was at lunch, and I was playing through the end part, and I just beat Krang in his android suit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And um, I'm like, oh shit, yeah, this is awesome. And then right as I beat him, he goes, this was just a distraction. And then Shredder comes out, and I'm like, oh shit. And then the new theme song came out. Was it from Method Man? And I can't remember the other guy, but it pops up, and I'm just sitting there, I'm like, oh shit, this is like.
What, you mean it's no longer going to be Go Turtle, Go?
No. It's I was thinking, I don't even know who did this one, but TURTLE Power,
Oh, yes.
from the first Turtles movie, because
Yep.
that's what the song sounds like, and I'm sitting there like, oh shit, this fucking rocks, and then Shredder comes out and he's like, I'm gonna get my revenge, and dude, it was fucking awesome, but I'm like, oh shit, I gotta get back to work. No, damn it.
Very nice.
uh, but yeah, no, it was a good game.
Damn work getting in the way of our hobbies, right?
Was that?
Damn work getting in the way of our hobbies, right?
Oh yeah. It always finds its way. Do you have an R2D2 in the background?
I have a rice cooker that the lid just was not fitting on right, so it kept on hitting one of the sensors. When you tighten on the lid on this rice cooker, it sings you the song of its people. And it kept on not seating right, so it would hit the sensor, cause it to sing, but it wasn't actually positioned, so I'd have to undo it, and then it'd hit and it just kept on hitting that position without seating properly. A fucker. So it was just the. But I finally got it to sit properly. And thank you for the shillage, assassin. How goes it? But yeah, it's nice when you have a good game that you're playing through that's actually kind of calling back to those happy old school games that you grow up with. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm slightly addicted to Hades right now. I was watching a streamer play it, went, that looks really fun, decided to give it a go, and it is really fun. Though it has some questionable portrayals of various Grecian deities. I think one of the funniest to me is Hades at several points says, "You aren't going to goad me into a foolish act." And I'm going, this is Ares. What do you mean you aren't going to goad Ares into some foolish act? During the Titanomachy, he was goaded into a foolish act. During the Gigantomachy, he was goaded into attacking 3 giants as they just led him away, then kicked the shit out of him, entombed him in bronze for long enough that he almost lost his fucking divinity because he didn't consume ambrosia for a long enough period of time. 2 sons of Poseidon kicked the shit out of him, did the same fucking thing as the giants did. He was goaded into anger against Hercules, got injured in that fight. He was goaded into anger against Athena at least 3 or 4 times, each time getting fucking injured. 2 of those times during the goddamn Trojan War. One of the time, it wasn't even Athena that crippled him. It was the hero next to Athena that crippled him and drove a spear into his bowels. One of the other times, they decided to, or Athena and Ares squared off, and she just threw a rock at his head and knocked him the fuck out. What do you mean people aren't going to goad you into a foolish act? Your entire personality in the Grecian myth is being goaded into some foolish act, Ares. It's the reason why after the Gigantomachy incident, Zeus called him his most embarrassing son and lamented not being able to just kill him and be done with it.
That truly is a Greek tragedy, isn't it?
The thing is that Ares has there's two major Grecian gods of war. You have Ares, who was the god of aggression, effectively, and Athena, who is the goddess of tactics and wisdom. So, when you're comparing those two gods, the Greeks went, well, yeah, aggression has a place in war, but if you're just aggressive, you're going to fucking die and you're going to be retarded in how you die. Whereas if you are holding to the tactics, if you're holding form, if you're holding in the phalanx, you have a fairly good chance of surviving the goddamn battle. Whereas if you just run ahead to charge headlong into the fight, yeah, you're fucked. You're going to die. So they carried that over to their two gods of war. And since Ares was aggression, he did stupid shit and died for it, or nearly died for it every time.
And that's how you got your mythos.
Yeah. A lot of mythology is just meant to communicate important cultural points and certain bits of truisms. And one thing that you'll see in a lot of mythologies is there will be some being that is immensely powerful, but entirely untrained, entirely uncontrolled. And they end up getting fucked up time and time again, if not dying because of it. Since that is fairly obvious when you look at the history of war. Being aggressive can be a good thing. Always being aggressive is goddamn suicide.
It's that hero's journey, right?
That's part of it. When you look at a lot of heroes' journeys, depending on the particular hero, a lot of them are learning how to control that impulse to aggression. And some of them, their failure to control that impulse is what leads to their nadir, the lowest point. A really good example of this is the point where Achilles is the most fucking terrifying, and where it is also his lowest point as a hero, and led to one of the times that he nearly died, and he nearly died in a way that left him scared, was after the death of his cousin, who was masquerading as him. He went on a rampage during the War of Troy, during the Siege of Troy, and he killed so many people that he choked the rivers with blood. He heaped their bodies against the walls of Troy, and he was goddamn terrifying. He was completely savage, and he was untrained, or not untrained, but uncontrolled in his aggression. And do you remember in the Iliad when he fought the river?
When he fought the river?
When Achilles fought the river god.
Bits and pieces of it.
So it was during that rage where he ended up. This was shortly after he killed Hector. He rode around the city dragging Hector's body for several days. He slaughtered host after host after host of Trojan. And he, like I said, made the rivers run with blood. And it was the exact phrasing, if I remember correctly, is effectively he choked the rivers with blood, which pissed off one of the river gods that had taken up residence in that particular river. And that river god rose up and swallowed Achilles, dragging him into the water. Achilles is described as trying to swim out of it, and every time that he was nearly about to breach the surface, he was dragged back down into the depths. And there was a moment where he ended up almost breaking due to the fear of it, due to the ignominy and fear of his death being due to fighting something that he could not have a hope of fighting, and by drowning due to a river god's wrath. It's this very dark point, and it's shortly before Priam, the king of Troy, then begs for Hector's body back. And it was the incident with the river that did a hell of a lot to cool Achilles' wrath after killing Hector and after losing his cousin. It's one of those things that, like I said, the unchecked aggression is a fairly common aspect of old school myths, and it's almost entirely that a hero that suffers from that untrained wrath, from that uncontrolled wrath, ends up suffering for it. Achilles with nearly drowning due to a river god's response to Achilles' wrath. There's Cuchulainn and his accidental murder of his son. There's the wrath that Hera forced onto Hercules that caused Hercules to murder his wife and children. Untrained aggression, untrained wrath, uncontrolled is always the woe of heroes. So as the god of aggression, Ares was constantly made the fool. Because, like I said, he is a major Grecian god that lost several fights against mortals. He was beaten by Hercules. He was beaten by, I'm trying to remember the name of the Grecian charioteer that drove the spear into Ares' bowels during Troy. Let me quickly look that up. I had to look up Subsys yesterday, and today I'm looking up my Grecian mythology. Let's see. Ares speared in bowels. That'll probably give me a response. Let's see if it does. Also, the one thing about Hades that makes me somewhat laugh the game is there's one really confusing set of interactions if you know your Grecian mythology and you know. Do you know who Zagreus is?
Kinda.
So Zagreus is a god that is effectively only mentioned in the Orphic epic. So Orphic being derived from Orpheus, who is both a mythological character as well as he was considered one of the people that recorded several epics. One of them is the Orphic epic, and there was a cult of Orpheus that followed the Orphic epic. And Zagreus was a major component of one section of the Orphic epic, because the Orphic cult had this very interesting view of the god's divinity, or the god's immortality. And it was related to
Owls?
the... Say again?
That was related to owls, or?
So the Orphic version of the god's immortality ends up being that the gods can't truly die, but the gods can have that form of them die.
Ooh.
But when that form of them dies, there's an element that is preserved. So in the Orphic epic of Zagreus, Zagreus was one of the sons of Zeus. And he was actually a son of Zeus that Zeus so loved and thought was so impressive that he bestowed upon Zagreus his lightning bolt. But there's a major issue, as with most of Zeus's children, and that is Hera didn't like Zeus fucking around with other people, and Zagreus was not the get of Hera, just the get of Zeus. So in the Orphic epic, Zeus entrusts the care and the safekeeping of Zagreus to his brother, Hades. And in the process of entrusting Zagreus to the care of Hades, Hera ends up distracting Zeus by getting Morpheus, I think it was, to put him to sleep. And then being able to distract Hades for long enough that Kronos and several of the other Titans in Tartarus were able to get their hands on Zagreus and tear him apart. Zeus woke up shortly thereafter, found out that this had happened, rained his vengeance down upon the Titans, and was able to regain Zagreus's divine spark. And he sewed that divine spark into his own thigh and ended up then having his thigh give birth to Dionysus in the Orphic version. So the fact that in the game, as Zagreus, you can meet Dionysus, you're just going, hold on a second. How exactly is Zagreus and Dionysus talking? Because in the original myth, Dionysus is a reincarnation of Zagreus.
Is he?
I'm not sure if he is in the game. He is in the actual myth. And it's Diomedes is the one who spears Ares in the battle. In one of the portions of the Trojan War. And then, Athena ends up clocking him in the head with a rock at a later point during the Trojan War.
So do you find yourself more engaged with the story or the way the game is played?
The gameplay is really fun. The story is well done. At least as far as I've been through it thus far. It is well done. They get some interesting things about mythology wrong, as I said, but on the whole,
are they taking it wrong, or are they taking slight liberties in terms to to be able to fit the story, at least.
They're taking liberties, but when I say that they're getting it wrong, it's you can take liberties while still getting characterizations right. And their version of Ares is much more the Roman Mars rather than the Grecian Ares.
Oh, okay.
Because when, like I said, in the Grecian version, Ares is aggression. He's stupid. He's lumbering. He has no talent. He just tries to bring raw force to bear.
Yeah.
And due to that, he is constantly made the fool. In the Roman versions, Mars, he's still not as capable as his sister, or his half-sister, but he's not a fool. He's not completely unbridled. It's just he is not as organized. He is not as under control as Minerva, which is, of course, the Roman equivalent of Athena. So Minerva still has the edge over Mars, but Mars is far more capable than Ares, because they viewed it as him having more aspects of war than just aggression in the Roman conception, whereas in the Grecian he was effectively just the blind, stupid aggression of a conflict. At least in the surviving records that we have, which admittedly are mostly from the Athenian perspective. And considering that Ares was the Spartan tutelary deity rather than the Athenian, it makes sense that we have a lot of really good shit about Athena and not as much about Ares. So it could be that there were other versions of various tales that were more kind to Ares than what we have. But the Ares that we have, yeah, he was damn near retarded and just angry. Which caused him to constantly lose battles against, like I said, he lost against Diomedes, he lost against Hercules, he lost against Athena several times, he lost against the Gaian giants, he lost against the twin sons of Poseidon, who I'm blanking on the names of, but it was the same twin sons of Poseidon that then tried to stack mountains and assault Olympus, so Zeus just fucking fried them with lightning bolts. He ran from Typhon. He had just legend and myth after myth of him getting his ass whooped by various other people. So the fact that they have him more of the like cool, calm, yeah, he talks about war and aggression, but he's very like, hey, cousin, how goes it? How's my favorite killer doing? Doesn't quite fit with the raving madman of Grecian mythology that Ares was.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah.
Like I said, in Grecian mythology, Zeus calls him his most disappointing son. And laments not being able to kill him because he has immortality. That is not exactly high praise for a god.
Yeah, not at all.
Because, yeah, it was effectively, get the fuck out of my sight. You keep on screwing up everything. If I could, I would murder you myself. Fuck you. And yeah, that's Ares. So, it is a really fun game, though. And it has... most of the characterizations are fairly good. Ares is the one kind of, what the fuck? And the gameplay is fun. It's fairly standard roguelike, but it is well done roguelike. Where
Are the dungeons made randomly, or are they all set?
so it is a random placement of set rooms, if that makes sense. So if you see a specific room, that room will always have 2 exits. But where that room is in the floor will be different every time that you play. And there's a fair selection of different types of rooms. So you will occasionally see the same room, but it's not like, oh yeah, every time that you're going through Tartarus, you'll end up seeing the room that Sisyphus is in. You'll occasionally see Sisyphus. You'll occasionally see Eridus, and you'll occasionally see Patroclus or one of the others. It's not a constant thing. The only rooms that are somewhat constant are the boss chambers. But everything else is kind of placed around, so you have a fair bit of difference from game to game, or from run to run of playing the game. It's well done. So yeah, it isn't quite the same as like, what is it? Rogue Legacy? I think that's the name of the game. Let me quickly double check. Which is another rogue. Yeah, it's Rogue Legacy. Is another roguelike that's fairly good that came out not terribly long ago. That one has randomization of the enemies that you encounter in the rooms, as well as the rooms are somewhat randomly generated. This one has kind of set rooms with a slight variation in the baddies that can pop up in the room, but it has a good number of rooms that are able to be swapped out, so no gameplay is exactly the same.
Oh.
Because you might get, like, let's say that it's the rooms are 1 through 50. Let's just say that you'll have 6 different rooms, 7 counting the boss chamber. So you'll have 6 rooms, each one out of 50, that you'll end up going through, which is a hell of a lot of variation. Because shit, even if it was 10 rooms, going through 6 rooms with 10 different options, that would be that would be 1 million different combinations.
You'd be spending a lot of times going through a lot of rooms.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It would be 1 million different combinations. So you'd have a 1 in 1 million chance of seeing the same room, or seeing the same exact run twice. And this one, like I said, it has a good number. So It's a good deal north of 10, which means that you have or you have less than 1 in 1 million chance of having the same exact setup for your run. And that's not even including, because it's not just the rooms that are randomized, but it's the power-ups that you get as you play through that are randomized. So each one of the Olympians can offer you between like 15 and probably 20 something different boons. And each of those boons can range from the most basic level up to heroic. And there's at least 4 or 5 levels for each boon. So the boons are randomized. What group of 3 you're able to select each time that you run into them. The level of the rarity of those boons are randomized each time, and which Olympian is in which room is randomized every time. So in order to get the exact same run, not only do you have to have the ridiculous chance of getting the exact same rooms, but you have to have the exact same rooms with the exact same power-ups, with the exact same boons, the exact same Olympians in the exact same rooms with the exact same boons, as well as the exact same shops that are all also randomized. So when I say that, yeah, you'll functionally never have 2 playthroughs that are exactly the same, you're talking like 1 in several billion chance of having 2 playthroughs that are exactly the same. And yeah, everyone has their favorite Olympians when it comes down to it. I really like Zeus and Poseidon's power-ups, as well as when you can get the duo ability of Athena and Ares. Their duo abilities, good fucking god. Those are fantastic. And that's another thing. The game has duo abilities built in. So there are boons that you can get if you have certain powers from certain gods. Then you'll get an option to buff both of the abilities that you have. So one of them is if you have a Doom ability in either the first or second slot, and then you have a deflection ability in either the first or second slot, whichever one isn't the Doom ability, then you can get an ability that every time that one of your moves would cause reflection, it also inflicts Doom. And every time that one of your moves would inflict Doom, it also causes reflection. Which is a really fucking nice combo. Doom does extra damage, and it is sweet. And Zeus is just chain lightning. Chain lightning fucking everything. Poseidon's knockback and extra damage. Good shit. And then there's Hermes. Hermes is the most dangerous god to get powers from, just because he buffs move speed. And there's a lot of environmental traps. So sometimes move speed is more dangerous than it is beneficial.
Oh, well, yeah, definitely.
Because you'll be whipping around.
Also ask Ezra.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say you could ask Ezra Miller on the quickness or swiftness of these jokes.
Oh yeah. His main problem with being fast is he gets a bit impatient and isn't willing to wait for someone to turn 18.
Yep.
That is such a clusterfuck, that situation. Because have they found him yet?
I thought he was in Hawaii.
Because I know he went on the lam with the one girl that he had been grooming. And yeah, Maniac, we were talking about Hades. I recently got addicted to it, and I've been having a hell of a lot of fun with it. Which is why the show wasn't made quite as early today as it normally is, because, yeah, I didn't finish playing the game until like 10 past when I normally set up the stream. So that was the reason for the slight delay today.
Yeah.
So after you beat the Turtle, are you going to be playing the Turtles game again to beat it through on another playthrough with a different character, or are you going to be swapping games? And if you swap games, what's your next game on the docket? Adam?
Wait, what?
You said that you beat the Ninja Turtles game. And I asked, are you going to be beating it through again with a different character, or are you going to be swapping games? And if so, what's your next game on the docket?
Oh, well, I think I beat Turtles. Um, I don't think I got the proper. I think they said that there was like a couple of different endings you could get with it.
Ah.
Um, so I don't know if I actually beat it, but
So it might be going for the true ending.
well, yeah, play it through. I think the thing I like about it, especially as somebody who streams videos,
Mm-hmm.
it's nice that I can just pop on, start the game, and open a lobby, and people can just jump in,
Mm-hmm.
and you can get a good grouping of people.
Mm.
Um, so so I mean that's a nice thing about it. But uh, in terms, in terms of trying to get the outcomes, I don't know. If I focus on it, I guess I can get those. If I want to maybe film film those outcomes, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with recently, like I said, with the Shredder reveal,
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for the nostalgic type of stuff that they're throwing at us, and
Mm-hmm.
it's been good on that front so far.
That's good to hear. Any other
Yeah.
games that you're excited to see, or retro games that you've seen coming out that look really nice, or really anything else that you want to chat about? Giving you an opportunity because I've been ranting about Hades for a while, so I don't want to make you think that I'm just going to immediately take over the topic again if you have something.
No, I mean, I guess the opposite you could see is, and I warned too, is Sonic Origins.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Apparently, it was released with a lot of bugs, and to the point where a developer from Headcanon had to go out and say, "Hey, this isn't what we submitted," and that's troubling signs. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those things that you see, unfortunately, fairly frequently with a lot of older game series where the quality just absolutely shits the bed. And it's something that has been happening more and more often recently. Though Sonic isn't really the best example of that because Sonic ever since it went away from the 2D, has been somewhat questionable with a lot of its releases. It'll have a really good one, and then it'll have a bunch of really shit ones, and then it'll get a good one again, and then really shit ones again. So it isn't exactly the most reliable of the old franchises. But you see that with just a lot of games now, and I'm not sure if it is just that the quality of the programmers and writers has gone down, or what the fuck it is. But it just seems like so many games, especially old genres, go to shit. And it might just be the same thing that we see when it comes to old movies, where there's this almost concerted effort of, this was really good, but it doesn't meet our ideas, so we need to destroy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, yeah.
It's just a pain in the ass. There's so many things that could be fantastic. There's nothing that says that you can't make a good Sonic game, except the Sonic game writers. There's nothing that says that you can't make a really goddamn amazing first-person shooter war game, except Call of Duty and Medal of Honor writers. They decide not to so often now. Why? If you're making a World War II game, just make a World War II game. If you want there to be badass women in it, again, I don't know how many times I've said this. If you want badass women in a World War II shooter, Russian snipers. There were a shit ton of badass female snipers during World War II. When you look at Russia, there's Lyudmila Pavlyuchenko, I think was her name. She was one of the snipers that was trained up by Vasily Zaitsev, the sniper of Stalingrad fame. She has an absolutely insane history and record as well. If you want an amazing female character in a World War II war game, talk about Lyudmila Pavlyuchenko or any of the other 2,000 women that Vasily Zaitsev trained. Do that. Don't make a fucking cyborg wielding a katana fighting for the English during World... That didn't fucking happen. And if you're going to do that shit, go completely whole hog. Because if you make a trippy as shit World War II game where there's absolutely no respect for the technology, then people don't have a problem when you have a character that deviates from the tradition, because that immediately signals that, oh, this is some alternate reality, not this is trying to be a legitimate World War II game. So if you have your weird cyborg female wielding a katana fighting for the English, but then you have, like, I don't know, giant mechanized dogs fighting in the German forces and fucking bear cavalry for the Russians, no one's going to be going, wait, how did the English get the cyborg with the katana? They're just going to be going, oh yeah, this is a weird fucking version of this. It's kind of cool. Let's run with it. And where's my proof for which bit? Cannibalistic. How badass Lyudmila Pavlyuchenko was, that a shit ton of media has gone to pot, or that a lot of Sonic games are kind of shit.
Or both.
I've made many claims in that string of words.
It's a lot of words.
It tends to help being a bit verbose when the point of the show is to talk. But yes, which bit do you want additional proof for cannibalistic?
Oh,
Oh, the cyborg katana woman? Which
wait, what? He
he
doesn't.
wants the proof of the cyborg katana woman. Which game
Doesn't
was
remember that.
that?
It
Because
was a weird. I think it was a part of a trailer. For was it supposed to be World War One or two?
it was World War II, and it was. I think that one was the Call of Duty one, right?
Or Battlefield?
Let me quickly check. Cyborg. Oh no.
No, I don't think it was a time. I think it was. I think it was in the midst of the pushing for this type of nonsense.
Oh yeah, it
Let's
wasn't.
be realistic. It's nonsense. When you look at it, it's like, dude, come on. We know what you're trying to do. Why are you trying to do it? Just make your own shit.
Yeah, it wasn't a time traveler or anything like that. It was Battlefield 5. Okay. I remember it was one of them. I was trying to remember which game it is. Let me pull up the image of her. And let's see. Oh, this will be a completely unbiased article. Let's see why that is. There's a fantastically. Oh, this is just going to be shit article that I saw when I typed it in, which is the Kotaku. You don't like women as your main characters, effectively? Oh no, there are women in Battlefield 5, is what they titled their article.
How long ago was this?
This was a few years ago. I want to say 4 years ago, like 2018.
So it's the same type of argument that they make with Reva in the Obi-Wan series,
Yep.
where it's not that the story and the writing is horrible. It's you don't like such and such character for
Yep.
whatever attributes. That's fucking lame.
That's been the argument for the longest period of time. That was the argument with the 2016 Ghostbusters. It wasn't that people didn't like 2016 Ghostbusters because 2016 Ghostbusters was absolute fucking cancer.
Yeah, it wasn't because people weren't laughing that. Haha.
Okay. Cannibalistic
Did you not like
us.
the?
I wasn't
Wait,
sure
what?
if you had forgotten about the character Cannibalist. Cannibalistic said that they were just fucking with us, saying, well, how do you know that there weren't any cyborg women in World War II fighting for the English front with katanas? He was taking a piss. But yeah, it was just what the fuck. It happens so often that they'll just try to go, well, if you don't like this, then it's because you don't like female leads, you don't like gay characters, you don't like black characters, you don't like insert identity group here characters. And no, it's sometimes just the character's shit, or that character should not have been that. And did I go deaf, or did something else happen?
No, I can hear you.
Okay, I went deaf. That was the problem. My headphones flipped off. But it's... Okay.
I was just gonna say the question then begs, like, at what point are we sitting here saying, is it really that we're exacerbating the what we're seeing, or is it just no? It's just a normal fucking thing. I don't know.
See, the thing is that I've talked about this before. There's a massive difference between a gay character and a character that happens to be gay. Just like there's a massive difference between a female character and a character that happens to be female. My distinction between those two categories is the gay character rather than the character who happens to be gay is an easy one. A gay character will make being gay their central defining characteristic. A character that happens to be gay, you will know a fuck ton about them. And at some point, you might find out that, oh, they're gay. Normally, you find out about it when, like, oh, they just talked about finding this person attractive. Wait, that's a... Oh. Okay. There's a really good example of this from the Black Magician trilogy by Trudy Caravan, where in that book, there's this wizard, because the entire thing is about wizards, or magicians as they call them. So there's this magician who is extremely intelligent. He is descended from a noble family. He's very charming. And throughout most of the book, there's rumors from when he was younger that just seemed like they were rumors meant to smear him. Because, again, he was the scion of a noble family. So noble families kind of want to have heirs. And if the scion of your noble family ends up being a poof, you aren't very happy about that, because it doesn't matter how many times you have gay sex, you aren't going to have a child from it. So there's a few murmurings of that early on in the book, but throughout most of the times that he's mentioned, he's just a very clever, very capable, interesting character who gives a shit about what's happened. And he has important jobs throughout the story. And then at a certain point, he's sent as an ambassador to this one area. And he meets this another person who's also ambassador and shows up kind of to help him get used to the area that he's in. And that dude's also very nice, rather charming, is showing him around. And then there's the moment of, oh, they aren't, oh, okay. And you just continue on, because it doesn't fucking matter that the character turns out to be gay. You have all these things before he turns out to be gay, and then even after he turns out to be gay, it isn't like every page is, I'm gay. I'm gay, by the way. Did you know I'm gay? I'm gay. No, it's still, he's doing his job, and then the aspects of the relationship are just like any other character's relationship in the story, where it's an additional factor. It isn't the core thing that's driving him. It's just there's shit that happens every so often that makes him think about the person that he's into. That's a character that happens to be gay. Whereas a gay character, one of the first things that you find out about them is their sexuality. And then their sexuality is constantly brought up any time that they are brought up. This happens a lot. And you get the character who happens to be black versus the black character a lot as well, where a character's entire identity is being black versus someone has an actual identity and they happen to be black. Those are two very different things. Same thing with the woman character. There's the woman character who's always Captain Marvel. The movie version of Captain Marvel is a really good example of a woman character. Because how many fucking times do they bring up the fact, did you know Captain Marvel's a woman? Women can't do that. Women can't do this. Women can't do that. And then the entire thing is, well, Captain Marvel can, and Captain Marvel's... No, fuck you. That isn't a character.
But think about it, dude. Somebody wrote that script, or wrote, parts of that script and chunked it all together. And then it went through the process of corporate Hollywood, where it was going through multiple people who would sit there and they had chances to add input or changes. And I'm sure they did. But we still got what we got. And that's what I mean. Like, they all have an agenda to push.
Yeah, it's the entire thing is rotten from the core. You can't purify sewage by adding more sewage.
No, not at all.
And that's the attempt, or that's what they're doing. They have ideological people writing it. Then they have ideological people directing it. And they have ideological people producing it. And they have ideological people. And when you just keep on doubling down on the ideology, it ends up being entirely fucking just garbage. And yeah, the Carol Danvers was the villain of that fucking thing. The dude that hits on her, so she starts to break his hand and then mugs him. That is not something that a hero does. That's something that
they do it all the time.
That's something that you could get an anti-hero to do. A good example of an anti-hero doing that is in Terminator. Or Terminator 2, I think there was a scene of that, where Arnold mugs a biker. But Arnold is not meant to be just the good guy in that. Arnold is a robot sent back in time to stop another robot. He isn't the good guy. He's just the guy who isn't as evil as the main antagonist. He's the monster sent back to stop another monster.
Dude, you don't understand. She was such a hero, she needed to get that motorcycle and outfit.
She flies!
Well, she didn't know she could fly at that point.
Yes, she did.
Did she?
I think so. I think she flew there.
Not. I thought that's why she was phoning everybody in. And that's why she needed the motorcycle.
I thought she knew that she could fly in atmosphere. She didn't know that she could fly in space.
The very fact that we're having this discussion, I think, is quite telling in the storytelling of the movie.
But this is something that you see constantly, where they get everything just horribly wrong. And they end up trying to write heroes, but they make their heroes villains in their attempt. And goddammit, Arnold is sent back to Germany to stop the British fight woman cyborg with a katana.
Is that the plot for Terminator Salvation? I think a new trailer came out for that one.
Oh, good God. Did a new trailer come out for it? I thought Salvation was the one that was already out.
I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of people talking about a new Terminator. I don't know if it's because of the whole Roe v. Wade bullshit, but yeah, I've been seeing a lot of that stuff.
I thought Salvation was the one that they went, hey, you know how we've made all of the other Terminator movies up to this point about Kyle and how Kyle was the person that was going to be the savior of humanity and how he needed to be preserved? Yeah, well, fuck Kyle. It's now Kyle's girlfriend.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it was just bad. So many of these things they just make shitty. And a good chunk of it is because they don't know what makes a character evil and they don't know what makes a character good. Oh, sorry, yeah, John Connor, not Kyle. John Connor. There's another thing that I was thinking of that I was blending the names, but John Connor. They were saying John Connor was the one that was going to save. And then it was suddenly, no, it's not John Connor. It's John Connor's girlfriend. John Connor's girlfriend is the one that's going to save humanity. So she's the one that needs to be protected. Fuck you. And then there's just the problem that they don't know what makes a villain and they don't know what makes a hero. And you see this, especially when they try to make sympathetic movies to villains. For fuck's sake, they tried to make Cruella de Vil sympathetic. She wanted to skin puppies. I don't give a shit what her backstory was. You aren't going to make me feel sympathetic to the person who wanted to skin puppies.
Well, even at that, it's like the readiness to do it.
Yeah,
That was my goal.
but they tried to take Cruella de Vil and make a Yes Queen movie out of it. They tried to take Cruella de Vil, who wanted to skin puppies, to make clothing out of them into a sympathetic character. You can't make someone who starts out wanting to skin puppies a sympathetic character. They're just a cunt. There's no redemption arc for that. You could do redemption arc for certain sorts of villains or prequels to various things where you see the villain of the original and the villain is not a villain yet. This works. There's the fallen hero villain's archetype. That's a really cool character when done right. And you can absolutely do a prequel to something that has a fallen hero villain and make you care about that villain because it is done before they fall. So you're seeing them when they weren't a villain. You're seeing them when they were a hero. And then you break them in the movie. You explain how they became the villain. But that is the person that goes from, I want to liberate all these people, to, I want to rule all these people. That's the sort of villain that you can do it with. You can't do that with, I want to skin puppies. That is not a character that you can make sympathetic. No one should ever go, you know who really needs a redemption story? or not really a redemption story, but an explanation of how they reached that point. The person that wanted to skin puppies, no, they're just fucking evil. There is no logical, well, yeah, that explains why they wanted to skin puppies. Everything's forgiven. They wanted to skin puppies. That shit just drives me crazy. Seriously, who the fuck said that they needed a story about how Cruella de Vil became Cruella de Vil? She's just a psycho bitch. She's a psycho bitch that really likes fashion and decided that dog fur was the latest fashion.
No, well, I mean, I think that was a subtle push at the time for people to be empathetic towards villains. I mean, I think Wicked was the catalyst for a lot of that.
But see, Wicked was at least a better version. Wicked was something that the character was kind of by definition evil, but their by definition evil was they wanted control over Oz.
And it's a lot easier to do that with a stage play. So,
and
I mean,
like I said,
I would say,
when the villain's goal is control, you can actually have some sort of this is how they reached this point. But, and you could have a character that was just mentioned in chat. You could have a backstory about Gaston. And a backstory about Gaston could be done really well, where it explains exactly what Maniac Man says, how he became such a macho, egotistical jerk. And you could do that really well, because you could have it where Gaston was, even in the original work, already set up as Gaston was the hero who bought into his own fucking hype. He was this big, strong man that everyone loved and was willing to fight against monsters. That's heroic shit. Being willing to fight against monsters, being willing to do shit like that. You could have a backstory to Gaston where he starts off and he actually is fighting against real problems. He's actually doing properly heroic shit, and it explains how he became this hero of the town, and then how being the hero of the town broke him. You see that shit happen in real life where someone does something good and then they get all the attaboys, they get all of the recognition, all of the love for doing the something good, and they realize, I like this. So they start creating problems in order to fix.
Oh yeah. Seems to be the easiest tactic, right?
Yeah. I mean, look at a good chunk of the civil rights leaders that didn't just go, okay, yeah, job done, and didn't end up dead. Most of them are that character type. Most of them were actually people that had something that they stood for at one point, and they completely abandoned it. Because getting the accolades, getting the recognition of being a good and noble person was so intoxicating that they were willing to not be one in order to continue being called one. That's the sort of thing that you would get with a Gaston prequel, where you start with Gaston actually being interesting, actually being fairly noble and selfless, and then getting corrupted by the recognition, getting corrupted by the unthinking praise for his heroism, until eventually he's just some arrogant asshole who everyone still sees him as being the hero that he was, but now he's a villain masquerading as a hero. But they don't do it for that character. They don't do it for the ones. Another character that you could get a fairly interesting backstory behind, motherfucking Frollo.
From Hunchback of Notre Dame?
Yes!
Why would you? Really?
You could get a really interesting story out of Frollo. A man who, through his piousness, ends up being able to move up in society, ends up being able to do some good work. Start with him actually doing good things for the sake of doing good things, and then as he gets more recognition, as he gets more power, as he starts buying into the fact that yes, he is this holy man of the cloth, he starts thinking that he's blameless, and he starts getting pissed off when he sees other people not living up to his standard. And even when he doesn't live up to his standard, think about his song when he was the Hellfire song, when he was condemning Esmeralda because she made him feel lust. That slut. It was her fault that he was feeling that lust. It wasn't some failing in himself. He starts completely externalizing all of his vices, all of the things that made him less. And that's what makes him the villain. You could have a fantastic story with that, where it's just him getting more warped as time goes on. But he starts off, and when he is just who he was originally, he was actually a fairly pious man of the cloth. He was actually a fairly thoughtful person who was trying to do better, and then he just bought into all the bullshit about him being holy, into all the bullshit about him knowing where and how people sin.
I mean, it sounds like a good idea, but at the same end, with current day Disney, I don't know if I'd trust them with it.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't trust them to do it. I'm saying that there are scores of characters, though, that you could have that this is who they were before the story, and it be interesting because they weren't completely irredeemable pieces of shit. They were deeply flawed people, but you can't do a backstory of Cruella de Vil and make Cruella de Vil a sympathetic character. You can't do a backstory of Lady fucking Tremaine and make Lady Tremaine a sympathetic character. Lady Tremaine, in my opinion, is the single most evil villain of any Disney movie. Do you remember who Lady Tremaine is, Adam?
I can't say I do.
Cinderella's stepmother.
Her name was Lady Tremaine?
If I remember correctly, let me quickly double check. I'm almost positive it was Lady Tremaine.
Honestly, I didn't even know she had a name. I thought it was just evil stepmother.
I'm almost positive it was Lady Tremaine. I'm quickly double checking. And yes, Lady Tremaine. I remembered that name right. Lady Tremaine, to my mind, is the single most evil villain of any Disney movie. Because when you think about all the other Disney villains, they have something they gain. When you think about Scar, Scar gains power. He gains leadership of the lions and everything that the light touches because he was able to usurp his brother, who he was constantly living in the shadow of. This is an interesting character. This is someone who had some motivation other than I'm evil. When you think about Jafar, much the same. He wanted power. He wanted control. He wanted to rule all of Agrabah. And he was dealing with this stupid king who was just fucking things up, didn't know what the fuck he was doing. He was nice, sure, but he was incompetent. Surely Jafar, the vizier, the grand vizier, would be able to rule the kingdom far better than this bumbling sultan. So he had something he wanted to do, and he was gaining something by his villainy. He was sacrificing his soul as he was performing these acts of villainy, but he was gaining something. And that's something that you could have it be that he thought at some point he was going to do good the moment that he gained control. He was just willing to go through hell and to go through the mud and muck in order to achieve his bright, glorious future. When you have Gaston was living for his personal legend, and he wanted Belle, the one person that he wasn't able to actually get, the one person who had no interest in him, but she was beautiful. He had something that he wanted to gain through his villainy. Every other Disney villain had something they gained. Lady Tremaine gained nothing. Lady Tremaine had absolutely nothing that she gained out of her cruelty. She didn't get increased power by treating Cinderella like shit. She didn't gain a kingdom by treating Cinderella like shit. She didn't have an improved sense of herself by treating Cinderella like shit. She treated Cinderella like shit because she could treat Cinderella like shit.
Well, wouldn't that be a portrayal of superiority? She's doing it because wasn't it also Cinderella was like the daughter of a husband who passed away or something like that?
The daughter of her late husband's first wife. But the thing is that, yeah, it could be something that heightened her sense of power, but it did not give her power. She gained no new power when she was treating Cinderella like shit. She was just treating Cinderella like shit. She was already the widow of her late husband. She had already inherited what he had. She had already gained everything that she could gain. She treated Cinderella like shit because she decided to treat someone like shit since she had power over them. There was nothing unique that she gained out of it. There was no increase in anything about her life. She did it because she could. That's why, to my mind, she is the single most evil character in a Disney movie. Because even fucking Cruella de Vil was going to make clothing by doing her horrendous shit, as fucked up as it was, that she wanted to skin puppies to make clothes. At the very least, she would have gotten clothes at the end of the process. By treating Cinderella like shit, she gained nothing. She could have had Cinderella do the work that Cinderella was doing without acting as if she was less than human. She
Well, I mean,
could,
she also didn't even know that she was at the ball. So
yeah. Her cruelty was entirely separate from any motivation other than the enjoyment of the cruelty for cruelty's sake. That is why I say that she's the single most evil character in Disney history. Because she gains nothing. And to me, that's when someone becomes truly evil. You're fucked up. You can be evil when you're doing evil things. In fact, that's kind of necessary. You're doing evil things that makes you at least somewhat evil. The fact that you're willing to do evil things. It doesn't mean that you're completely irredeemable 100% of the time. But the moment that you're doing evil things for the sake of doing evil things and because you get off on doing evil things, that is when you are truly fucking evil. So a hitman is less evil than a serial killer to my mind. Because a hitman is at least doing it for fucking money. The serial killer is just doing it for the sake of thrill. That was a hell of a rant just for Disney movies. I never know what the hell I'm going to rant about until I'm mid-flow, and then there's no stopping it. It's too late. It's going to happen.
yo, what?
What prompted that? Or what was the question going to be with the yeah, what?
I don't know. I didn't have a question.
Because you started with yeah, what? And then just cut off, and I wasn't sure if I had gone deaf or you would just stop the sentence.
Oh no, just trying to break the silence. Type of stuff.
Okay. It is about that time, though. So,
No.
shall we give parting words and thank our loyal audience for tuning in and listen to me rant about random bullshit for almost 2 hours?
Damn, it's almost been 2 hours. Holy shit!
Yeah, it's been about 2 hours, 45 minutes at the time being.
Nice.
Yep.
Well, I think we did a good job.
As do I.
No. Other than the usual, I do appreciate you letting me hang out and chat with you on a Friday evening.
Always fun. I always enjoy it.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. I'm surprised we didn't get anybody else to join, but
people are probably busy tonight. I know that one person. Sorry, just knocked something down. I know one person that I checked with just had their work schedule pick up a little bit, so they were knackered and just hitting the hay, so they weren't able to join. And I'm willing to bet a lot of people are probably having the same thing. And Maniac Man agreed that Frollo is exactly one of the villains that he was thinking, where you could make a really good backstory of Frollo, and I agree with his. You could make a really good backstory of Gaston. You could make a really good backstory of most of the villains from Disney. There's two exceptions, again, and I cannot state these enough. You cannot make a good backstory that makes Cruella de Vil sympathetic because ultimately she wants to skin puppies.
that is her MO.
Yeah. you aren't going to make someone who wants to skin puppies sympathetic. People like puppies too much. And that is such a fucked thing to, well, why do you want to skin puppies? I think they'll look good as clothing. Fuck you! Even saying, well, she wants to kill puppies because Dalmatians killed her mother when she was younger. That still doesn't explain why she wants to skin them.
That is kind of weird. But continuing my closing arguments.
Sorry, I keep on just going off on fucking Cruella de Vil.
No, that's good. But yeah, no, appreciate you letting me join, and for the panel and the audience and the people who will, hopefully watch in the future. You know what? I love y'all, and God bless.
Sounds good. And I'll leave off with my standard of, if you're passionate about something, make sure that you devour it. Don't let it devour you. And with that, we've been going for just shy of 2 hours. So we might as well call it an end for the evening. So have a good night, all. The zoo is closed.
Night.
And now let's see if my internet will hold.